Welcome back. And to give us update on what's going on in the African Nova Scotian community, Matthew Byard is back in the studio with us today. Matthew is a reporter with the Halifax Examiner, hired under the local journalism initiative to report about stories in the Black community. It's good to have you.
Thanks for having me back.
Always exciting to have you in the studio.
Yeah, it's always exciting to be here.
Right.
I see you have your Christmas decorations up this
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah, of course we get you ready for
A few changes, right?
Yeah, exactly. So tell us, what updates do you have for us news-wise?
Well, I have a few. I believe it was this past week I reported about the retirement of Lou Gannon from the African Nova Scotian Music Association, aka ANSMA. So Lou, he was on the board for nearly 21 years and has served most of that time as the president slash chair of the board of directors. So he retired recently. He spoke to me about that. Wrote an article about that for the Halifax Examiner. Ken Hudson is taking over as the president, and they've also will be now hiring an official executive director, which he says was his unofficial role during his time as president.
Yeah.
And so we talked about his background as a musician a little bit, what he's done throughout ANSMA. He says right now ANSMA supports artists like Renee Smith. These were some examples he gave: Renee Smith, Owen Osan Lee, Keontae Beals, and I want to say Kimani, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay.
I should have double checked, but I'm pretty sure that's yeah. So
I
we
was going
talked
to
about
ask,
that.
what significant role did he play in the community, being the president and chair board of directors during his time? What are those things you feel legacies that he left?
Well, the association itself was created to highlight and celebrate Black music artists in the province. I guess back at that time there wasn't a lot of avenues to highlight them in terms of awards and things like that. They since work with the East Coast Music Awards or East Coast Music Association. I forget what it's called. Music Nova Scotia now.
Yeah.
They started a showcase during their annual award ceremony / weekend called Black Vibes. So that still runs to date. They created their own award show, the Ansmo Awards, and they do a number of. They collaborate with the city and various different groups to do different musical performances throughout the year with the Nova Scotia Mass Choir. I believe they're part of this whole ecosystem now that exists that helps highlight Black music and Black music artists here in the province. So he's been, like I say, the president and chairman of the board for, if not the whole 21 years, a good portion of the 21 years he's been on the board. So their current office is at the same building as the Black Cultural Center. Recently received some funding to be able to hire an official executive director, and for some other initiatives they have coming up. He said, possibly moving into a new office. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
We'll see how that goes.
There's just news about a 16-year-old Black boy who was arrested in Colabo. What's that news about, really?
Right. So this was a 16-year-old, Black boy, like you said, who was arrested in Cole Harbour this past week. I was contacted by one of his family members. This is a story. There's a lot of he said, she said that goes on with it. I spoke to the young man, his mother, and his girlfriend's mother. The story I got was that threats were made, I guess, towards his girlfriend and some of her friends. His name was mentioned. And so they went to, these two groups of kids went to, sort of confront one another. Once they were there, he says that, his role wasn't to be involved in the conflict, but rather just to sort of try to, have cooler heads prevail. At one point, unfortunately, a knife was produced. I guess one of the kids from the other sides pulled out a knife. His girlfriend ended up getting a hold of the knife. He took it away from her. While it was in his hands, I guess that's when the police showed up. And so I guess a lot of the kids in his camp took off running. The police officer says that, the first thing I saw when I showed up on the scene was him with the knife in his hand. Now, his girlfriend's mother, who then showed up and who then called his mother, who then showed up, his girlfriend's mother says that, the white kids who were in the other group were, just free to go about, I shouldn't say go about their business, but they were standing around. She said some of them were taunting him while he was in the back of the police car. He said that, he was sort of maybe spoken to a little disrespectfully by the police. things like that. And his mother, when she arrived on the scene, I can just imagine, what it's like first getting that call that your son's been arrested, and then have him tell you that, that they pointed a gun at my head, whilst I was being arrested. So she followed them over to Halifax, where he was, I guess, processed, released to her. He has to go to court now, but I should also mention, though, his group of friends, they were also mostly white. I get the impression he was, one of the only black kids. I think the only black male amongst the whole group. I believe one of the police officers described them as a group of 30 kids in total. Yeah. And so there's been accusations of racial misconduct and things like that from his friends, so.
So that brings me to the question: how would you describe the relationship that the place has with our people? I mean, the black community here in Nova Scotia. Do you think it's cordial, or what exactly would you be describing it to be like?
Well, I'm sure there's many black Nova Scotians who would say that they describe their relationship with the police as good. I suppose they feel comfortable, say, calling the police if need be, as we all should.
Yeah.
The statistics have shown that black people in this province historically, if nothing else, have been stopped and searched more often than white people. From the Halifax Regional Police and from the RCMP, in the Halifax area, but also in the province sort of as a whole. So there was a lot of news about that over the past few years. When those statistics were first uncovered, it led to a report that uncovered that the statistics were actually a bit worse than what was initially thought. The current chief of the Halifax Regional Police, he since issued an apology on behalf of the department. Not long after that, there were 3 separate incidents that were, there was video footage that was obtained that showed police, interacting with black people where there was force used, and some would question, whether or not it was a significant amount of force or too much force. Mm-hmm. So there's no real easy answer to that question. Some black people in the province might say that sort of stuff doesn't apply to them, but there has been at least a lot of it in the news that would have give people pause to think, okay, well, what's the real story here? Is there some underlying sort of racism? So I guess my job is just to document that sort of thing, question what happened, so that we can have more of an honest conversation about it, rather than just they're racist. No, we're not. Usually it's somewhere in between.
Yeah, Justin, thank you for coming in and giving all these updates. I really appreciate your time. That was Matthew Byard, reporter with Halifax Examiner. If you have any event or activity you would like the community to know about, why don't you send us an email to communityupdateNS@gmail.com. And let's help you reach your audience faster. Don't forget, again, to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. I am Promise Okoy, and I'll see you soon.